All right, I think you're really going to like this conversation. 2 weeks to go until Election Day, and the polls are in Hillary Clinton's favor, and there are signs that she is winning over Democrats who haven't always been with her. One of them is Michael Moore, the Academy Award-winning director, whose new film is called Michael Moore in Trumpland. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I was watching your film before this. Very interesting. So we're going to talk about the film, but I want to talk some politics. Can we talk politics?
Sure, anything you want to do. Yeah.
Okay, so here's what you said. You talked about in July. Well, we'll put that up. You haven't always been a fan of Hillary Clinton first, I want to talk about. You were a fan of Bernie Sanders, right? She ran against Barack Obama in 2008.
Worked for him, voted for him, and same thing with Obama. It was for him in 2008.
So why the change?
No change, actually. Ever since she was First Lady, I thought back then she was a remarkable woman, a lot of integrity, was there to fight for the people, especially with the whole healthcare thing that she was. She went into when they got elected, when she was the co-president, that she thought all of us there should be universal health care. And she worked so hard for that and was destroyed over it. She was attacked. They humiliated her. The whole thing went down to defeat. And I thought back then, this is 1993, 94, man, you know, there is somebody that cares about the people and is willing to put her head on the chopping block for it. Yeah. So I've always had those feelings about her. I disagree with her politically, which is why I voted for Obama in the primaries in 2008 and Bernie this year, because she voted for the Iraq War. She's too close to Wall Street. I mean, the things that probably any Bernie voter would tell you that we're concerned about.
And the initial things you said about her, about healthcare and what she did for the country, Donald Trump said very similar things about her until maybe a year or two ago, right, when he started to run for president.
Yes, I interviewed Trump in 1998, and there's a small clip of that in my film where I asked him about her. Yeah. And he just lavishes praise upon her.
Okay, so let's in July you wrote this piece listing 5 reasons why you think Donald Trump will win, including what you call the Rust Belt Brexit, the last stand of the angry white man, the Hillary problem, meaning her unpopularity, the depressed Sanders vote, and the Jesse Ventura effect. Basically, that people can pull the lever for whoever they want in the privacy of the voting booth. So do you think that those reasons have changed at all?
No, those are all the reasons why, if he's able to pull it off, it'll be because on that day, a lot of angry white guys, a lot of guys who have actually a justifiable right to be angry, guys and women, in the Midwest, in the Rust Belt, who have suffered during the last decade or two, and have had it, and they see Trump as their human Molotov cocktail. They get to go into the voting booth. I mean, I know a lot. I mean, I grew up with. I mean, I live in Michigan, so a lot of people see him not because they agree with him, but the opportunity to use him to just whip him right into the system and blow it up.
You say that they have a right to be, upset, right? But a lot of folks have a right to be upset. I mean, minorities in this country have a right to be upset.
Yes,
Women
absolutely.
in this country have a right to be upset. There are a lot of folks. So why are they entitled to be upset because of?
They are entitled to be upset and to be heard.
Or more entitled, I should say.
Not
than
more,
else to be upset.
Not more entitled. And in the past, African Americans, women, and others have actually formed movements to organize themselves politically and express their anger and run candidates and get them elected. The white working class has not figured out a way to do that and has reacted in this visceral sort of way and responds to the dog whistle and is manipulated with fear of the other, whether the other is Mexicans or Muslims or whatever. So Trump has very expertly figured out how to appeal to people that are down on their luck, who used to be in the middle class and are no longer there. And I'm not saying that their response to him is right. I'm just saying we had all better recognize it, because November 8th, it's the second Tuesday of November, not the first Tuesday. Usually we vote on the first Tuesday. Right. In Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, we call the second Tuesday winter. And this is going to be about who gets out the most people to vote.
You talk more about this in Trumpland. We'll be right back. We'll continue to discuss. Don't go anywhere. Michael Moore's latest movie is Michael Moore in Trumpland, and he is back with me now to talk about that. So let's talk about this documentary now. Here's a clip from it, Michael Moore in Trumpland.
You live here in Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. Whether Trump means it or not is kind of irrelevant because he's saying the things to people who are hurting. And it's why every beaten down, nameless, forgotten working stiff who used to be part of what was called the middle class loves Trump. He is the human Molotov cocktail that they've been waiting for. The human hand grenade that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them. And on November 8th, Election Day, although they've lost their jobs, although they've been foreclosed on by the bank, next came the divorce, and now the wife and kids are gone, the car's been repoed, they haven't had a real vacation in years, they're stuck with the Obamacare bronze plan where you can't even get a Percocet. They've essentially lost everything they had, except one thing. The one thing that doesn't cost them a cent and is guaranteed to them by the American Constitution, the right to vote.
Okay, so how is that different than any other struggling American of color or single mother? Or, because I asked you before, do they have it more of a right to be upset than any, because, you know, some people will say, well, now they know how it feels to be black.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way to put it. You have right now in America, white men over the age of 35 make up only 19% of the population. And, you know, they've been very used to a certain way, which is white guys running the show. And those days are over. In fact, they've been over for some time now. We've just had two administrations of an African American in the White House whose middle name is Hussein as their president. You know, last month is the second year in a row now that the majority of kindergartners who entered school this past month, second year in a row now, the majority of them are not white. That is the new America. That's the new America we live in. And white people and white guys and older white guys are going to have to either get on board the train and understand that this is a wonderful country and we are a better country for that diversity, or be used and manipulated by candidates who are trying to throw them these bones, like Trump going to Detroit and saying, I'm going to put a tariff on any cars that Ford builds in Mexico.
Yeah. So listen, let's just say, I'm not saying that you are right, but just for the sake of your argument that you are right.
I may not be right.
Okay.
I think I'm right, but
okay,
I may
for
not
that.
be. Yeah.
Do they understand that they may be being manipulated? Do they care?
Well, my purpose in making this film and coming on this show and other shows is to reach out to them, to help them understand what the manipulation is that's going on, to have them care, to have them understand that there's a candidate on the ballot who does care about them, who's going to make this a better country for them and for everybody else. And
that's Hillary Clinton in your...
That would be Hillary Clinton,
But do you think that she is speaking to this particular demographic, to these folks?
Well, yes, I think her policies do. I think the things that she stands for does, but that's...
But her rhetoric doesn't.
Well, but that's what I'm here for. I mean, that's what that, you know, white guys over 35 like me need to stand up and say that this woman and the feminism that she represents and what she's been through as part of that generation of women who had to suffer quite a bit to start the modern day feminist movement back in the 60s and the 70s. You know, I don't think Hillary Clinton has forgotten any of that. And I think that's all in her soul, and nothing but good is going to come from it.
Do you think it's harder when we're talking about these issues if you've had, you know, I know what it's like to be poor. So, you know, I wouldn't want to, would go back to being poor. I think most people of color sort of know what that's like. Many women, especially single mothers, know what that's like to be poor. If you've never experienced that, is it harder to all of a sudden wake up and the job is gone, the white picket fence is gone?
Yeah, you've been in the suburbs, you had the nice big 3 or 4 bedroom house, you knew the kids were going to be able to go to college, all those things, and then suddenly that's gone. Yeah, I think that's messed up a lot of people. And now they're working 2 or 3 jobs, part-time, maybe minimum wage or slightly above minimum wage, and they're upset. And my message to them is, yes, be upset. We have an economic system in this country that is unfair, it's unjust, and it's not democratic, and it benefits the few at the top. So you have a right to be upset at that. But there is only one candidate on the ballot who is going to fight for you on those issues.
We're over, and we're going to be a little bit over, because I want to ask you about when I said now they know what it's like to be black in some way. And you saw that, I don't know if you saw the SNL thing with the Black Jeopardy, where the black contestant and the Trump supporter had more in common than they realized. And you talked to me in the break about people in Flint or in poor neighborhoods having to move back to poor neighborhoods, whites, because they can't afford it.
There's a school district in the north end,
black neighborhoods.
In the north end of Flint called the Beecher School District. And I don't have the exact statistics, but it used to be, 70% black, 30% white. And in the last decade, during this decline and more white people becoming poor, poor people from the suburbs have had to move back in to the north end of Flint. And now the district is approaching 50-50 black and white because of poor white people. This is the only place where they can afford a home.
Yeah.
So in a way, this assault on working people, regardless of color, is bringing people together. And I think, again, maybe I'm just a crazy optimist, but I think good will come of this.
Yeah. Michael Moore, thank you.
Thank you very
Trumpland.
much.
Michael Moore in Trumpland. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We'll be right back.